Anything Judo, I'm here with Wolves reporter Mr. Liam King. We are still in the Wolves dressing room. We've been here for a couple of days now. 24 hours are going to kick us out soon, I reckon.
Been sleeping in the ice bath.
Oh, but I'll tell you what, I've been using some of the players' shirts as a pillow. Fantastic, amazing.
Lovely and soft.
Oh, delicious. Let's talk about some forward, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about the man behind us. Diego Costa. Who would have thought start of the season? Diego Costa. Here you go. Look, they needed some strikers, needed them quickly, didn't they? And it was in the large era. Diego Costa came and took a while to get going. Took a long while to get going, I thought.
Yeah.
But you understand when he's coming, he hasn't really trained, and he's got to get himself into not just match fitness, but Premier League fitness. So it's a completely different kettle of fish altogether from maybe playing on the continent. I thought he actually had some really, really good games. Tailed off towards the end. Obviously, it's been released now. But did you feel that it was overall a positive signing from what Wolves wanted to get at that time, or do you think it was a bit of a waste of time and Wolves would have been better off without him?
Let's say a little bit of both. And
I can't do that.
But I'll
stop sitting on the fence.
No. But I will say that my overall mark for him would be pretty positive as a sign. But what do you bring a striker in for? You bring a striker in for goals, don't you? And it didn't work out for him. He got one goal, albeit a great moment for him. It didn't work out in front of goal. But what he did bring was, obviously, as you say, it took a long time to get up to speed. He had 9-10 months away from football before he even arrived at Wolves. Came in, took a long time to get himself in shape, enough to play Premier League football regularly. And then had some really great games. Chelsea, Brentford here, a few other ones as well. Some good moments for him. Off the field again, he was another sort of big character that did really well in the dressing room and helped, I think, lift the mood of what was quite a down squad, particularly going into that World Cup break. And he only got the one red card, so that's a positive.
Yeah, that was that away at Brentford, was it?
Yeah, on Ben Mee, wasn't he? Just gave him a little, was it an elbow or a headbutt, something like that.
And then came back and scored against them in the return.
He did.
In the return fixture. Well, we didn't see much of him. Kalajic.
Yeah, and it's difficult to give him much of a mark. I thought he actually did okay in that 45 minutes. He could see that he puts teams off, doesn't he, because of his attributes, how big he is, the kind of striker that he is. And I would hope the next season we'll see a lot more from him, but it's difficult to say because it's a tough injury to come back from, and it's not the first time he's done it as well. Yeah,
we're going to central strikers first. So I say central strikers. Cunha, central striker. Is he? Was that the main talking point of this season? Is he a 9? Is he a 10?
He's not a 9 for me, but I liked what he brought.
Did he get for big money for him?
He did. Big money. They overpaid for him, which I think everyone would admit, because they needed to beat off some competition to get in. Sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that.
Literally, kids in dressing. You take the kids in.
You see how I tried to keep a straight face. I had to say that. I've gone. But they got the player they wanted, and then play the Lopetegui wanted, which is more important. And I don't think he's number 9. I think he's a player that works well off a number 9. I don't think he's a winger either. I know we didn't really see him there, but I think he does play just off a striker. And
what's his best partnership alongside Costa?
Alongside Costa, and I think alongside a Kalajic, maybe Fabio next season if he's around the club. Those kind of partnerships, hopefully, were where we might see the best of Cunha again. So, as a player, I liked him. I think he brought a lot. Again, off the pitch in the dressing room, quite a big character, quite a lively character, and I would hope that he'll live up to that kind of money next season.
If you told me Raul Jimenez will not score 0 Premier League goals this season at the start, I would be absolutely stunned. I'd be literally in stitches. But that is what happened. I mean, he scored in the cup, but obviously a very, very disappointing season for Jimenez. You add that in with the World Cup situation with Mexico, with him, with the club. Coming out from the injury and then the way it finished on a sour note here against Everton and throwing his warm-up jacket towards Lopetegui. Just again, we'll see whether he's still at the club next season, but you've got to say that it's a shocker of a season for Jimenez.
Yeah, it is. I mean, obviously injury played a big part before the World Cup, obviously, and I think it's fair to say he prioritised getting out there for Mexico rather than getting himself fit for Wolves. I think I'm sure he would argue against that, but that they were the optics that from what we saw from the outside, and he made mistakes definitely. At the same time, he came back, put the work in,
reintegrated into the squad.
Reintegrated. Felt he should have been given a few more chances probably. But I think Lopetegui probably made his mind up. Look, he said towards the end of the season that he wants to keep Jimenez for next season, but I'll be very surprised if he is around. I think that was a goodbye here.
Yeah.
After the game against Everton.
Well, he kind of got got gypped, didn't he?
Yeah.
Do you feel there was a poor one from Lopetegui?
Yeah, I think so. I think in the context of the game, where they were at the time, Wolves were on course to win that. I know they didn't in the end, but they should have done, and I felt like he should have come on. Starting him at Arsenal, understand, but he was too little too late really, and to be honest, he was isolated, didn't particularly perform very well, so it wasn't the ideal goodbye for him rather, but I think it probably is a goodbye.
So wide players, Daniel Podence.
Yeah, a weird season for him, because he finished his top goal scorer with 6, and to be honest, didn't really have a great season. It's a weird way of categorising it, because he is a player who, when he's up for it and on his day, can cause problems and has got an eye for goal, but he's not often enough up for it. He's a player that is, again, a bit of a luxury player for me, that he won't. You wouldn't want him in the trenches with you, put it that way. You know, if your back's up against the wall, and that's where Wolves were for the vast majority of the season in a relegation battle. They needed someone like a Hwang, I know we'll come on to, who was going to put the kind of graft in, and he doesn't do it to the kind of extent. I think he'd be very happy to leave Wolves, to be honest. He's got a year left on his deal. I think it's likely that he does go, again, provided a club comes in and pays money for him, of course. And he'd be one that we may see goodbye to. And to be honest, he leaves Wolves with probably a very average record. To be honest.
Hwang Hee-chan. You mentioned Hwang Hee-chan. Let's go into it. Came back, injuries as well, kind of blighted that season, but scored some goals. You know, you say tap-ins, and yes, there are a lot of the tap-ins, but he's got to be in that position. I think Wolves haven't got the players or enough players to get in those positions to be there, to be following balls up, and scored a few important goals. And I feel like, I almost feel like he's got a better reputation away from Wolves than he has at Wolves in front of some other fans, and has actually been touted with a few other clubs. He works very, very hard, and I think that there's no coincidence that past managers, whether it's been Bruno or Julian Lopetegui, rate him quite highly than I say perhaps quite a few fans do, and that's probably what he puts in, not just on the pitch but also off it, in training, in and around the club as well, and someone who wants to learn and really get stuck in it and make a success in the Premier League.
I think he's a manager's dream, because they can trust him. Does he always perform? No. Well, so far, no. Has he had injury issues? Yes, unfortunately. But he's the kind of player that a manager can trust to put out there, particularly in certain games with certain game plans where they've got to try and scrap to get a result. He's the kind of forward that you play. Could there be a bit more end products? I think so. But what do Wolves lack? There's a lot of reasons why they don't score a lot of goals. One of the big ones is a lack of movement. And he got into the right place at the right time for his 3 Premier League goals this season. Yes, they were easy finishes, but he had to be there to do it. And if you can have a bit more of that instinct and know-how next season, added with a bit more, a lot more chances created, a lot more creativity, particularly midfield forward, then I think you see a bit more from Hwang as well. He's powerful. He's a powerful runner, strong. He clearly is a good finisher when he does get the opportunities. I like him as a player. Is he going to score you 15-20 goals a season? I don't think he ever will.
No.
But could he get you 6 to 10? I think he could. And if you add that alongside other players with higher numbers, I think he could be a good asset for Wolves.
When you say asset at the end of there, could you see if there was money coming in, if there were a bid coming in for them to let Hwang go?
Well,
not been before Korea, by the way. Christ.
I was just about to say,
every commercial event, he's paid for every single commercial event going.
Doing it before a South Korea tour feels like an unwise move. But at the same
time, he's been to South Korea before, though, hasn't he? So.
At the same time, Wolves need to get some business done fairly early. Now, it never works out that way, but the last thing you want to do is go into the start of the season and then by the last week of August, when the season's already 3 weeks in, and then you lose a Hwang or a Neves, and then you've got to all of a sudden start to replace people or figure out where your squad's at. So, you don't want to do that. Do I think it's likely he goes? Probably not. Is it an opportunity to bring some money in? I think he would go for a decent fee. So it's like with any player, it's never impossible. If the offer's on the table that they feel is reasonable, then Wolves will absolutely consider it. I think it's unlikely though. I think the manager would want to keep hold of him.
At the time, I thought Wolves got a slamming deal getting Pablo Sarabia from PSG. Didn't really work out, did it? Again, I mean, one for next season probably, but he's not young. His experience there. He's got a good goal scoring record. Didn't really see enough. Got kind of injured, then he was in and out the side. But I thought there'd be one of those players that they signed in January who would have really excelled, and it just didn't quite happen.
No, I think we both said the same thing, but I sort of touted him as probably the signing of January. Shows how much we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't work out. But look, consider his experience, the clubs he's played for, 4.5 million as the fee, which is nominal fee really for a Premier League club. And has he got all the attributes and the experience to be a success here? Definitely. I think getting up to speed, similar to Nunes, getting up to speed with the Premier League and English football didn't quite click for him. Will it click? I would like to think so, and I would hope so. And I think next season, as you say, you probably see the best of him. And if Wolves can even get, I don't know, let's say half a dozen assists and 5 goals or something like that for him next season, for the money you paid for him, and supplement that with, again, the kind of numbers we're talking about with a Hwang and a striker, I think he adds a lot more next season. I would like to think so.
Adama Traore, contract's up. They're still in negotiations. I think Lopetegui's been quoted many times saying that he wants to keep him. Whether he does or not, it's probably one of the sticking points I guess he's got where he's with the board at the moment and with Fosun, because I think they want to keep him. I hope that they keep him. And we saw in that last game against Everton, or that last home game against Everton, the good and the bad of Traore. I think his first cross went into the south bank, and then he makes a fantastic run where he runs at defenders, which you always encourage, and lets Hwang have a tap in. So can you see a future for him at the club, and what do you rate his season overall?
It's a strange season again for him because he played a lot of games, and there was a lot of games where he didn't show up for Wolves and perform and was too quiet. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere there's a stretch of games, or games dotted throughout the season, where he looks like the best Adama Traore again. Direct, powerful, quick, making the kind of crosses, albeit Wolves don't have a big presence in front of goal and didn't score a lot of goals, making good crosses, dangerous crosses, things that flash across the box, hanging up for the back post, the kind of crosses that Wolves should have a striker in there that's going to attack more often. I think he was let down a little bit by not playing consistently, or from the start at least. Didn't help his momentum, and then again the strikers to create or to finish some of the chances. But will I keep him? Absolutely. The money he's on, or will be on until the end of this month, considering he's never signed a new deal, won't be massive in comparison to the rest of the squad. Would they be able to re-sign him and it not be a huge wage demand? Probably less than what they offered him before, but it's also going to be fairly considerable amount. And they need to figure out if they can afford to do that or not. He has been flirting with other clubs, like you would do when you're going out of contract. And
you were doing a Saturday night thing.
and there'll be a lot of clubs after him. And there's been a lot of rumours, and there will be a lot of clubs that will take Adama Traore, because yes, his numbers have never been outstanding, but he adds a lot of attributes that you won't find anywhere else in world football.
And his character as well. I mean,
very
we
professional.
Talked about Jean Moutinho, we talked about him not playing in the last couple of games, and whether he wants to extend his playing career and doesn't want to get injured or whatever. You can't say that about Adama Traore. The last 6 months he could have spoken to other clubs, and he's gone there and he's played every single game like it's his last. Hasn't been played 70%, 60%, 50%. He's played 100% right the way until the very end. And I think that, and professionalism on the pitch, off it, the community events that he does as well, the commercial events, he's done everything. I think that's the kind of professional that you're looking to get in a football club. And when you're a difference maker, when he is on, when he can be used as a weapon coming off the bench, and with the odd start in there, I think is a massive attribute and something that Lopetegui wants, and hopefully that the Fosun board can sanction, and he gets him signed up for the 3 or 4 years.
He's a good egg, isn't he?
He's a good egg. I like him.
Off the pitch as well as on it, I think he's a good asset for Wolves again. I would like definitely to keep him, but it depends. There's a lot of moving parts here, and it feels like if there's a lucrative offer from elsewhere, it could be the end.
25, 30, 35 million, picked on 99% of fancy Premier League teams at the start of the season. Pedro Neto, again, I mean, hardly saw anything of him. Obviously got another injury. I think we keep on saying this, but for me, a massive season of Pedro Neto next year, working under Lopetegui, healthy pre-season, healthy full season. I think he's a starter and a regular starter, but we keep on saying this time and time and time again. And when we do see him, he's not got a great goal scoring record. He's got a shocking goal scoring record, even assists really. Can we get Neto up to speed, and what sort of season did he have here?
Frustrating is the word I use, because again, similar to a lot of players in these videos that we talk about, he's a player that's got it. He's got it in bucket loads. He's talented, he's quick, he's tricky. I think he's got the kind of attributes you need to produce a decent numbers, goals and assists, goal contributions record in the Premier League. Again, is he going to be a player that scores you 20 goals a season? I don't think he ever will be that. But he's a player who will be able to supplement good numbers on top of hopefully the rest of the squad. But you need to get him consistently playing, consistently confident and feeling good in himself and injury free. That's the biggest thing with him at the moment, the last two or three seasons. And he didn't have that look again this year. It was a different body part, ankle this season. He's obviously had his knee before. He just hasn't got a stroke of luck at the moment. And if he gets that and plays consistently, and I think you're right, if he's playing well and feels fit and feels good in himself, he probably starts 9 times out of 10 in a Wolves shirt. But he needs that consistency, and I would like to think that Lopetegui gives it to him. Look, he's under contract for, I think it's 2027, so he's got a long deal still. He's a player that could go for big money, but you need to be playing regularly, performing, and until that happens, he won't be going anywhere.
So the best to last.
I'm ready for it.
Goncalo Guedes. What a player.
Disaster, wasn't it?
Absolute. Is it the biggest disaster signing going so far? It's got to be up there. It's got to be worse than something like a Catrone. He's signing for nearly double.
It's got to be.
Or 27, or what was it, 27? 27.5 million, that's £9 million more. I mean, goodness me. I mean, absolute disaster. No, look, I can forgive someone to come into the league and it's not happening for them and not, but there was zero effort there. There was zero interest to integrate, to put in the hard yards. His body language at the training ground, on the pitch, on the field, off the pitch, he did not want to be there. And look, whether it was his choice or not, for me, if you're a professional, you give you 100%. And look, the guy's talented. I'm sure the guy's talented, but he was one of the first ones to be shipped out under Lopetegui, and you can understand why, because this squad was sinking fast, and you've got a few bad apples and it becomes rotten. He was one of them, I think, for me. Good to see you in South Korea when you come back and have a chat, Goncalo. But look, it's obviously gone abroad, got injured again. It's got to think that his Wolves career is in massive jeopardy if they can get any money for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious.
You're going to pay 50 cents, 40 cents to the dollar at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's obvious the Wolves would like to get rid of him permanently. I think
you can't see him back in this squad, can you?
No, he didn't want to be here. It was pretty obvious from the outset. Compared to talking about Nunes in the previous video, didn't quite work for him, but I don't think it was ever, or hardly ever, from a lack of trying, a lack of effort. Unfortunately for Guedes, it didn't work, and it was also a lack of effort for the most part.
Yeah.
Didn't want to be here, didn't perform. Didn't reach anywhere near the levels that he should have been doing.
Well, it was promising his first couple of games.
Yeah, exactly.
Spurs
for
away.
A player who has got decent numbers in decent leagues and actually, it's clearly got an eye for goal and clearly a good footballer. It came here for the wrong reasons, and I think Wolves, if they can get a permanent fee, they definitely will take it. I think there'll be plenty of clubs that would happily take him on loan, particularly with the injury problems towards the end of the season at Benfica. But either way, I find it very difficult to believe he'll be at Wolves next season.
Yeah. So next season, well, obviously we need goals. Now there's a certain lad who was on loan this season, a couple of clubs, called Fabio Silva. He came in for some big money as well. Big question here now, Fabio Silva. If Lopetegui's still here, do you bring him back? Do you integrate him? Do you bring him back as your number 9? Do you take him on loan again, or do you sell him? Because there's 3 options here, and I'm not convinced that there's one guaranteed option. I think all 3 are on the table still.
Yeah, I think so. I think selling him away for a moment, only because I don't think you're going to get a fee anywhere near what you paid for him, first of all. Secondly, a fee that Wolves probably deem good enough. Now, it depends obviously on what clubs are willing to pay that. If there's some sort of bidding war, you never know. But I don't think you're going to get close to that. I think the player would obviously, I think he's spoke publicly about this, would like to go out and play on loan again somewhere. Wolves want players who want to be at Wolves. That's the biggest sticking point potentially with Fabio. But he scored 16 goals all comps across 2 clubs this season. I think you have to bring him in and give him a chance. I really do.
You've got to give him a run. You can't just give him a couple of games. It's got to be consistent.
If you're bringing him in, it's consistent. It's him, Kalajic, Cunha, and potentially one other if you can make a decent signing. Obviously, money being an issue, but you bring those players in and you give them the kind of run where they build, because strikers need a run of games to get anywhere near the kind of goals that you need them to, and you give them the run that's going to allow them that.
I think Fabio wants to be I think he likes to be in the limelight. He wants to be liked by the fans. He wants to be loved. And I feel like if Fabio Silva came back to the club and started first game of the season, home against Forest or whatever here, I feel like you're getting a fantastic reception. You talk about FFP, you talk about lack of money, you talk about bringing in players not being able to spend too much money. Couldn't you not be a number 9? Well, you've got a number 9 here who you spent a lot of money on, who scored goals last season, who's filled out. You know, he was probably a little bit skinny, a little bit, raw, so to speak, when he came in here. He's got a bit more experience, okay, albeit in not as good a league as the Premier League, but he knows where the back of the net is. He's still training, he's training hard. I think you're getting a different specimen when you come back, and whether he wants to go somewhere where he's loved. You know, the fans love him there, he's scoring goals for them. But if he's given a chance here, go and play him and go and give him 7, 8, 9 games. Don't give him 1 or 2 of me back on the bench. You need to get, you need confidence. And I feel like Fabio could have a future and be pretty successful. Well, he makes those runs and he's always was good positioning, wasn't he?
Exactly what I'm going to say, because earlier in this video I spoke about Wolves' lack of movement being a massive part of why they don't score goals. As far as I'm concerned, Fabio, one of his better attributes is his movement. I think he's an intelligent footballer that moves well. Is it always going to work out for him? No. Is he always going to be found with the right pass? No. But you keep trying, you get your opportunity eventually. I think he's got an eye for goal. I think he sniffs out a chance. I don't think he'll be perfect. I don't think he'll come back and necessarily score 20, 25 goals next season. But could he come back and have a decent run and score a few goals? I think he's more than capable of doing it. I think the sensible option is, provided the player is committed to coming back here and doing it, you bring him in and give him a chance.
So central strikers, wide forwards, can you see any additions this season?
They have got a lot of players there, so it's going to rely on probably a couple moving out. Guedes obviously is an obvious one. Podence probably to go. Raul probably to go. Obviously,
Costa's gone.
Costa obviously already got a club coming in for them, reliant on that, of course. But
Traore could go.
Traore could go.
So all of a sudden, he says a lot.
There's a lot of options,
but there could be like 4 or 5 that have gone from this group.
Yeah, exactly. And then it comes down to you needing to supplement what's already here. Similar to the midfielders, I think there's a decent nucleus here for the strikers or the forwards, but you do need to add as well. You do need to add. If you can add one out-and-out number 9 with a good goal-scoring record, I think you've got a lot of good options there then. And you probably need to add 1 to maybe 2 wide players. Again, you need to look at numbers. We need to have players here who score goals and register assists.
Harvey Barnes, sure.
I mean, I take him every day of the week.
Do you think he's going to be out of Wolves' realm?
I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, the money he'll go for, the kind of clubs that would be interested in.
Gyökeres, I mean, he just drifted over to the left a little bit, but obviously has been linked in the past. Sorry, can he be someone who can propel Wolves going forward?
I like him. He's different to the other strikers that Wolves have got. He's very physical, but he's also not slow. He's a good athlete again, good eye for goal, both feet, distance. In the air, not as much, but of course you've got Kalajdzic there. You would hope would be the answer to that in the air. So I think there's a player there, a fairly well-rounded player, a striker. The problem is a lot of the clubs like him. You're probably looking at 20 to 25 that Coventry are looking for, million that is, not pounds, and it could be just out of Wolves' reach. There's a lot of factors into that. It's not impossible for them to do it, but it feels like it might just be out their reach.
The people have fast forwarded most of this video because all they want to do is get Liam Keane's grade for the forwards this season. Can you give a grade, please?
Yeah, I want to go D.
D.
You scored 31 goals in 38 Premier League games. You can't get much higher than that, I don't think.
F. I think it's as bad as it could have been. Look at the goals scored. I think you cannot get any worse than that. There's some decent performances, in individual games, but it's absolutely, for me, embarrassing.
You could have gone E.
No, I've gone F. No, go for your grey card. Got to improve. I think it can only improve. You stick you up top, and it can't get any worse.
I'm alright, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you are. That's it. Forwards on Thursday, Friday. We've got the
manager.
The managers. The managers. Managers, plural.
God, it's been a long season.
We'll see you on Friday.